this story. Amen? We're all part. We're actually being called into this story in our own generation. God's going to write another chapter of testimony of who he is through his people among the nations in these days. And the destiny of the fulfillment of this story is absolutely glorious. It's going to be a house full of glory. Ultimately, the root problem is a worship problem. Who do we worship? There's an amazing film that just came out in India called PK. It talks about, it's a picture of a foreigner that comes to India, and he's got a jewel around his neck that's kind of the remote control back to his spaceship. And he lands in Rajasthan, and the good old Rajasthani comes over and sees that jewel and steals it. And then the whole movie is about the drama of how this alien tries to find his jewel to find his way home. This is an amazing thing, because he's got to have that jewel to find his way back to his spaceship home. And so he goes to the Muslims, the God of the Muslims. He goes to the gods of Hinduism. He goes to the gods of all the religions. And no one has an answer of how to get home. It's an amazing picture, and it's all down to a drama, and I can't get into it now, but it's a drama then of a gal that meets him, and she's related to a guy from Pakistan, and so here you have a Hindu gal in relationship with a Muslim, which is a no-no in India, and yet there's love between them, and it's related to the jewel, and they find the jewel, and all of this, I'm not going to help you understand it, but it gets to the point where a climactic point is said, and all of India is watching it on TV, and the guy says, there's only two gods in this world. The God who created you, or the God that you've created. Now, in the context of India, that's huge. This was the most watched film in all of India in 2014. It came out the day before Prime Minister Modi was installed in office. Or it might never have come out, because it shows the sham of religion. Religion doesn't have the answer. And it gets down to whose God do you worship? The one who created you, or the one that you've created? In the context of India, Egypt, all kinds of gods. And then the God who created it came down, took hold. Amazing. So the people hear this. Then it says that the angel of the Lord came, and this is what God often does. He comes now and he makes it very, very personal to us. It says he sent an angel, and the angel came and sat down under the oak in Ophrah that belonged to Joash, the Abiezrite, where his son Gideon was threshing wheat in a winepress to keep it from the Midianites. So picture Gideon now in a hole in the ground, keeping wheat as he's threshing it from the enemy, and an angel sitting at the foot of this oak tree. He begins a little conversation with Gideon. The first thing he says to Gideon are these words: "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior. The Lord is with you, mighty warrior." Now, was God trying to play a joke on Gideon? Or was this actually how the Lord viewed Gideon? And I think it's the latter. This is actually how God viewed Gideon. I'm with you, mighty warrior. mighty warrior. His identity in the eyes of the Lord, who saw him as a mighty warrior. This is our identity as king priest. Because all authority in heaven on earth is behind us when we're submitted to him. The degree to which we steward authority on earth is the degree to which we're submitted to him. When we're wholly submitted to him, all authority on heaven and on earth is behind us and with us. Oh man, if you were to tell the stories of missionaries who've gone into Saudi Arabia and people would ask them at the border or whatever, who sent you? There's some story, I couldn't find it, but the missionary says, he took out his Bible and he says, this one who has all authority in heaven and earth has sent me here. And amazingly, they let him in. But this is the kind of authority behind us. It's not ours. It's his. And when he is Lord in our midst, we are warriors. Warriors in kingdom terms. It's warriors full of capacity to embrace the cross. Warriors who have heavenly humility. Warriors that are full of love that overcomes. It's beyond us, but it's glorious. What we steward in relationship to him. Gideon responds. You listen to Gideon when he hears these words. These often are the kinds of things I think that arise in us. Gideon replied, if the Lord is with us, why then has all this happened to us? Why? Where are all his wonders that our fathers told us about when they said, did not the Lord bring us up out of Egypt? But the Lord apparently has abandoned us and left us into the hands of Midian. You see, these questions reflect the heart of Gideon. It seems as if God is no longer with him. It's a big jump in his own heart from where he is to what those stories speak about that are part of our story. But it says that the angel responds back just with these words. Go in the strength you have, am I not sending you? Go in the strength you have, am I not sending you? Apparently, he doesn't need a bunch of answers as to why they're in the condition that they are at this point. He needs to embrace the fact that he, because of what God has given him and saying to him as to who he is, that is his strength, and God is with him in it. I'm with you. All authority in heaven and on earth. Go therefore what? Make disciples, baptize them into the name, teach them to obey, and what? I will be with you. I will be with you. That one phrase is almost biblically all we need to fulfill the purpose for which God has called us. I will be with you. When he is with us, nothing is impossible. And he loves to do things beyond us. It says, Gideon's response, how can I save Israel? Now, just listen to those words. How can I save Israel? Where is Gideon? He's still thinking it's his capacity. How can I save Israel? My clan is the weakest in Manasseh. My clan is weak. I am the least in my family. That's quite amazing that God of all the tribes of Israel would go to the least, to the weakest, to fulfill his purpose. But it's just like God. He just loves to take, to prove who he is, the least and the weak. Because then everybody knows who did it. Okay? So he comes to Gideon with those words. Gideon says, how can I? How can I? How can I? He's got to make a leap of faith that says, he can. He can. He can. And that's a step of faith. It's stepping out of the boat. And you never know. You never know until you take a step of faith. When we take a step of faith, then we know. Then we know. Gideon sort of has this, what I call the grasshopper syndrome. Remember when the spies went into the land and they looked at the giants in the land? And then they said, we appear to him, we appear as if we're grasshoppers in their sight. Yeah, we are grasshoppers. But we shouldn't think of ourselves as grasshoppers. We can't be trusting in man to fulfill God's mission, because it's his mission. And he loves to bring glory to himself and fill the house with glory by working through the least and the weakest. But those who submit and trust, that's how he works. And he'll prove his name through those kinds of people. He will create a testimony in a community through those kinds of people. It doesn't come from them. It comes from him. Then Gideon at this point, now it's even going to get more personal. And this is the one point that in this story this week, it really impacted me. It says, Gideon said, Lord, if I have found favor in your eyes, give me a sign. Give me a sign that it's really you talking to me. Give me a sign. Lord, if you're going to commission me into this task that is so far beyond me, I've got to know whether it's really you, Lord, speaking to me. Are we all that way? We can't presume upon God. We got to be sure that we're listening to him. We're responding to what he is saying. So Gideon went on to say, verse 18, please do not go away until I come back and bring my offering and set it before you. Now it's interesting that Gideon goes and he prepares an offering. He prepares a young goat and unleavened bread. I kind of perked up with those words. Unleavened bread. It's bread without yeast. Now, biblically, that we might even think that this is bread that's pure, clean. And a young goat. And he goes and he prepares these two things, and he brings it out. And he put the meat in a basket and its broth in a pot, and he brought them out and offered them to the angel at the oak tree. Then the angel of God said to him, take the meat and the unleavened bread and place them on this rock and pour out the broth And Gideon did so. With the tip of the staff that was in his hand, the angel of the Lord touched the meat and the unleavened bread, and fire flared up from the rock, consuming the meat and the bread. And the angel of the Lord disappeared. When Gideon realized that it was the angel of the Lord, he exclaimed, "Ah, sovereign Lord, I have seen the angel of the Lord face to face." I've seen him face to face. The two images in this, there's actually three. The staff that reaches out and touches the offering, and the fire that consumed them. Fire, a rock, and a staff. Last Saturday, when I was just meditating on this story, I've been praying and asking the Lord, Lord, give me confirmation. Give me confirmation about certain things. And this fire, it made me realize November 22nd of this year, 7 o'clock in the morning, I was lying in my bed asleep. And all of a sudden, I had a very vivid dream. And I am not a person who has paid much attention to my dreams until Lou's come around. And most of my dreams are very wacky. They don't make any sense at all. I don't pay attention to probably what I ate the night before or whatever. But this was a very unusual dream. It was very, very vivid. And I was in a room, and there were people standing around the room holding their hands. And I was sitting almost in a chair right behind that circle of people. It was in a room that had wood paneling that was very old. It even had these little lampstands that almost looked like old-time torches or little lamps that were on the roof. And all of a sudden, there was like a plaque, and fire burst out right in front of me. And that fire just caused me to start to weep. And I was groaning. And then all of a sudden in the room, it was like the wind began to blow. And just wave after wave of wind that went through the room. And it was like leaves. It was that rustling of sound that was just filling the room. And I was laying there just weeping and groaning. My wife, she was trying to wake me up. And she was tapping on my shoulder. And I remember I started getting conscious of that, and I didn't want to wake up. I didn't want to wake up. It was so glorious. Finally, she got me awake, and I laid there, and I just had to try to control myself not to keep on just crying and weeping. And I remember the words I was saying to myself. I was saying over and over again to myself, Lord, I knew you would do this. I knew you would do this. I knew you would do this. And I woke up, I didn't know for sure what to make of this. But I went, I shared it with our leaders here at the center, and they said, this is for all of us. And it was so unusual for me to have this dream. And so I share it because it has greatly heightened my expectation of what God is going to do. And I realized a couple days later, when I started this last year praying, Lord, fill this house with your glory, it's like I got a taste of it, at least. I got a taste of it. So this fire. And then the other thing, it's on a rock. It's on a rock. And this rock is very, very significant. It makes me think of the story back in Genesis chapter 28 with Jacob. Remember the story where he has the vision? I just want to read those words. Jacob left Beersheba and set out for Haran. When he reached a certain place, he stopped for the night because the sun had set. Taking one of the stones there, he put it under his head and lay down to sleep. And then he had a dream in which he saw a stairway resting on the earth with its top reaching to the heavens, and the angels of God were ascending and descending on it. And there above stood the Lord, and he said, I am the Lord, the God of your father Abraham and the God of Isaac. I will give you and your descendants the land on which you're lying. Your descendants will be like the dust of the earth. You will spread out to the west and to the east and to the north and to the south. All peoples on earth will be blessed through you and your offspring. I am with you and will watch over you wherever you go. I will bring you back to this land. I will not leave you until I've done what I promised you. That's at the heart of the purpose of God upon us. And he saw that vision in that dream. It's the structure of a ziggurat. This is what the Babel was. They constructed a ziggurat. A ziggurat was something, it was like man's attempt to get God to come down and dwell in their midst in sacred space. But that's man's effort. This is a picture of God coming down and intervening and breaking in and giving what God will do to bring the whole thing to fulfillment. He's coming. When Jacob woke up from his sleep, he said, surely the Lord is in this place, and I was not aware of it. He was afraid, and he said, how awesome is this place? This is none other than the house of God. This is the